Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Chair. It is a pleasure to get a call on the committee stages of Part 1, which is the part that does deal with the extension to paid parental leave, finally from the National Party. And so I am rising to support the, albeit meagre, but still, from the National Party's perspective, I think a giant step. Meagre steps for some of the rest of us, but a giant step for the National Party to actually have this part which extends paid parental leave by a further 2 weeks next year, and then another 2 weeks the following year. Well, yeah, look, I've got to say that is giant steps for them, but I am rising to ask parties to support the supplementary order paper, the amendment that I am promoting for this part, so that we can actually get to 26 weeks by 2016. That is what my amendment will do, and that, as my colleague Carol Beaumont just said, is what the New Zealand public want. We know that that's what the New Zealand public want, because when they did have an opportunity to actually have a say on paid parental leave, when it wasn't a bill being rushed through urgency, but when it was a bill going through a considered process, as I'm not allowed to say my bill, the Labour Party bill, I'll call it now, the Labour bill that's before this House is doing, because I know the National Party will like it being called a Labour Party bill, just to remind people where this idea came from. Because I think what Part 1 reminds us about is that the National Party have no ideas of their own. This is their big budget urgency item, and it comes from the Labour Party. Right. What does that tell us about how lacklustre this government is? The fact that they have completely run out of ideas, they're tired, they're now casting around, and the only place they can find to get ideas from is when they look over this side of the House. And that's what Part 1 tells us. But my supplementary order paper will do what the submitters, 99.6% of the 3,806 submitters on the paid parental leave bill from the Labour Party, which brings in 26 weeks, this is what my supplementary order paper will do. So I'm urging all of the parties who have voted for 26 weeks paid parental leave to support that amendment, because in doing that, they can bring about 26 weeks paid parental leave, as the New Zealand public have asked for. And, Mr Speaker, I'm pleased to say that...
Order in the backbenches. I'm trying to listen.
I'm pleased to say that the supplementary order paper has been drafted in a way that won't compromise any of the... Well, it won't compromise the national government itself, nor will it compromise any of their support parties, because it's been drafted in a way where there is no commitment to improve paid parental leave beyond what the government's already proposing until 2016. Now, that is long past when the confidence and supply agreement is in place for United Future and for the Māori Party. So this should cause them no concern in terms of honouring their confidence and supply agreement with the government, and also honouring the commitment that they've made already in this House to support 26 weeks paid parental leave. Particularly, I know that the Honourable Peter Dunn will be wanting to support this. I'm sure he will be, because he is on the record, on public record, as saying that, yes, he's prepared to support 26 weeks paid parental leave, but he doesn't think it goes far enough. So I'm certain that he will be voting for the amendment that is on the table, voting on this evening. If he doesn't, I think there are some real questions to be asked about whether he supports his own party's policy or not. So I'll look forward to seeing what happens when we come to the vote on this part, which I think will be some time away, because I'm sure that the Minister has had lots of questions asked of him that he'll be wanting to answer. But, Mr Speaker, really, this part does just two things, and it does 2 weeks at a time in the next 2 years. Sadly, while I think the intentions are reasonably good, that won't actually address the issues that were raised at Select Committee on Submissions on another bill. So Mr Chair, I want to talk about a particular submission that really resonated with me. It's one that sticks in my mind of all the 3,800, actually. It was from a woman who gave her submission to us in Auckland. She talked about Mr Chair, she talked about the struggle that she had of raising, she gave birth to twins. And actually this stays with me, this submission, because when I looked around the room when she was describing what her day looked like when she returned to work, I swear there was not a dry eye in the room. And I think that included the officials as well, and that's pretty hard to get going. But what she described was that she was not getting, she had to go back to work after these babies, these two twins, were 3 months old. So at that time she had 12 weeks paid parental leave. And she financially had no option but to go back to work. But what was happening for her was that the twins were feeding at different times during the night. So on 4 occasions during the night, she was up feeding one or other of these twins. They weren't feeding at the same time. And then she was getting up and going to work the next morning. She was taking the train and dropping the children, dropping the babies off at daycare, which she found extremely difficult to do. She found it really hard to leave them at daycare. She would then get on the train and travel to work. And 2 times, I think it might have been 3 times during the course of the day, she was then travelling by train back to their daycare to feed these babies. And yeah, and so what's this got to do with it? Oh, I'm not sure. Jackie Dean doesn't know what this has got to do with it. What this has to do with part one, what this has got to do with part one is that she said to the select committee that the upshot was that she, oh well, look, I'm sorry if Jackie Dean doesn't empathise with this woman's story, but after 6 weeks she handed in her notice. She resigned because she couldn't do it. And what she told the select committee was that Mr Chair, what she told the select committee is if there had been 26 weeks paid parental leave in place, she believed that she would have been able to actually go back to work and cope at that stage. And that would have meant that she would have still had her job. She would have still had her job. Mr Chair, when this woman came before the select committee, her twins were 3 years old. She said, if I knew now what I knew then, I would have got through that, but I didn't. Still today, she doesn't have a job because she lost her attachment and her connection to that workplace because paid parental leave and the duration of it was inadequate. Mr Chair, it is still going to be inadequate for women in her position after this government has passed this bill, because another 4 weeks in 2 years' time is actually not going to help that woman in that situation. And that's what it's all about. It's all about helping parents so that they can cope, so that they can actually focus on giving that attention to their child and to their baby, and to get the bonding and attachment going really well. Now, that another 4 weeks isn't going to achieve that, and that's what all the submitters who came before the Labour Party bill told us. They told us that 26 weeks was what was going to actually start getting towards that. So what we have here in part one is we have a government that recognises that it's in trouble over this issue, recognises that it needed to try and respond and react, but it does demonstrate a government that really truly doesn't still get it. They don't still get it, and it is a big step for the National Party to vote at all in favour of any form of paid parental leave. I get that, I do get that, and I think that's a giant step forward. But please don't think this addresses the issues that the Labour Party bill has been put forward to address, because those issues are the ones that actually have been supported by Plunkett, have been supported by Barnardo's, have been supported by UNICEF and a whole range of other organisations. Mr Chair, Plunkett did put out a press release today, and they said, look, it's good to see paid parental leave being extended, but they begged the government to do the right thing and to go to 26 weeks. My amendment will give the government the opportunity to do the right thing, vote for the supplementary order paper that it does extend paid parental leave to 26 weeks. That can be done tonight. And we can get it underway. But even better than that...
That the question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote's been called for. Ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
14 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
2 votes in favour.
Mana. Act New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Brendan Horan. Any other votes? Greens to confirm their vote.
Can the Greens just confirm their vote? It was 14...
So, thank you. I'll correct that to opposed.
14 opposed. Thank you. Members, the ayes are 63, the noes are 55. The question will be put. We first have Sue Moroney's typescript amendments to Part 1, replacing 18 weeks with 26 weeks in clauses 19 to 30. The question is that the amendments be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. No. The noes have it. So, a party vote's been called for. Ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes opposed.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
14 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
2 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 in favour.
Act New Zealand.
1 vote opposed.
United Future.
1 vote opposed.
Brendan. Brendan Horan. Any other votes?
Members, the ayes are 58, the noes are 61. The amendments are not agreed to. The question then is Part 1, stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we now move to Part 2. This is debate on clauses 32 to 38. The question is at Part 2, stand part. I call Ross Robertson.
No, you don't.
Sorry.
No, you don't. That's normally followed by a withdrawal and an apology.